Well, hey, it's Dan Bissick here at College and Beyond, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to meet with Pam Kraemer from Pam Kraemer Designs LLC. So she has her own graphic design business. And so, Pam, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I have to start with the proverbial question, which is, how did you ever think about getting into graphic design?
I've always loved art. Even like in high school, I never had a study hall. I always took art classes and always knew I wanted to go into some kind of an art field, but wasn't sure exactly where to go. Talked to my counselor and looked at kind of all the different avenues in design, as far as interior, graphic, all sorts of different options, and landed on graphic design.
Wow. So, and over that time, then you also had to decide, of course, where you were going to go to school. So tell us a little bit about how you decided on the colleges and where you ultimately ended up going.
I knew that I wanted to go away to school. I didn't want to be somewhere here where I could just commute. So I wanted to stay on campus and really have that full college experience. So I looked pretty much all over Ohio, and kind of ended up at Bowling Green State University, up by Toledo.
Yeah,
And
that's a nice school.
it is, it was really nice. I really liked the people. They had a good design program. Um, and I fell in love with the school, really.
And so did you actually then get was it a graphic design degree, a 4-year degree, and how long were you there?
I was there for 4.5 years and I got a BA in fine arts with a graphic design major.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. And so, a lot of times you hear about people that have been able to do some internships, or whether it's paid or unpaid, or even some co-oping and things like that. Were you able to do any of those types of things when you were in college?
They didn't really have that kind of program when I was in college, but I think that is really beneficial right now to do that, especially in this field, because it's about your grades, but it's more about your portfolio and showing like what you can do. So having that internship or a co-op where you actually have real live experience and have some real live projects that you've worked on, is really beneficial, I think, now.
So when you came out of college, then did you actually go to work for somebody, or did you immediately decide that you were going to freelance and do your own thing?
No, the year before I graduated, kind of looked at I knew I wanted to go in an advertising agency because I knew that that would give me a lot of experience, working with the bigger corporations in the city. And so I kind of looked at a whole bunch of different agencies, and then kind of went in and talked to them. So they kind of knew who I was. And then once I graduated, I had kind of had a job already lined up, through one of those advertising agencies. So for the first 10 years of my career, I worked in advertising agencies, about 5 or 6 different ones, and then decided that the agencies are great as far as getting that experience and getting to work on a whole bunch of different projects, but the hours are longer. So I wanted to work in a corporation and have more of that 8 to 5 type job, once I got a little older, and wanted to kind of settle down. So I worked at Great American Life Insurance, for a while, and Luxottica Retail, so both Fortune 500 companies. I worked in the marketing department at Great American and in the communications department at Luxottica Retail. So I got a different feel for the different departments and how internal versus external clients worked. So that was great. And then from there, I went to DMR, which is direct marketing results, and they do basically marketing for radio stations. So I did that for about 4 years. And then from there, the last job I had before full-time freelance was at a packaging place, which is I
Wow.
kind of came full circle. So I really wanted to do that when I got out of school. But in Cincinnati, they are very strong believers in the UC DAP program. So if you want to get into that packaging end, that is definitely the program you want to be in, is the DAP program at UC, because a lot of the agencies will pick those people first over anybody else for packaging. So I was fortunate enough to get into packaging at a pet product place. We did products for all sorts of furry animals. So, and I had 6 direct reports, and I was a creative director by that point. And then 4 years in, they decided that they were going to move to St. Louis. And I have my family here. My husband has a really good job here, and decided it was a perfect opportunity to freelance full time. So that was about 6 years ago that I got into the freelancing full time.
Wow, what an interesting process, from,
It
you know,
has
yeah, I
been.
mean, really all the different things that you've done. And you said that you kind of really enjoyed the packaging side of things, huh? So
I
what,
did. I
what
enjoyed it all.
did you, so what was
Yeah.
a typical day? I mean, what does a graphic designer do in a typical day?
It kind of depends on the kind of job that you're in. So advertising agencies is a lot more fast paced. You have a lot more clients that you're dealing with, different diversity in clients. And so you're always working on different things. In an advertising agency and a corporation, as you can imagine, you're kind of working on the same kind of things. Although depending on the company, you can be working on, brochures or flyers or folders, like different kind of materials, but it's all for that one company. So that's kind of the difference in like working at an agency, working at a corporation. And then package design is a whole different thing. It's like working on either the design of the package or even like the product. Sometimes we would get into, like, if they wanted a collar, like what would the collar look like, or what would the decorations on the collar be, or like for the shampoos and stuff, what kind of scents would you? So you kind of get pulled into that kind of stuff too, in package design. And then trade shows, so a lot of different signage and that kind of stuff in a trade show. So it really depends on the direction you go, and even corporate, like where you go with that too. So it just depends.
It's really amazing, though, how you've been able to use your graphic design in so many different ways. And I guess that translates back to the fact that if you just look around your room, look at all the graphics that are around you, right?
Right, right. Yeah, there's all sorts of different graphics that that you can do. And that's, I think, why this career is so fun as far as creative for creatives, is because there's so many different things that you can do. And us creative people get kind of bored. So it's kind of nice to have like all those different options and different things that you can work on, to kind of keep those creative juices flowing. So, and I definitely recommend that you start off in an agency or corporation or something, so that you have other people to learn from and stuff, and you get those connections and referral partners, like the printers and that kind of stuff really helps when you go out on your own full-time freelancing.
So I have to ask, how has the world of graphic design changed because of technology and the internet and everything like that?
It has been, it's a constant change.
Is
So
it?
that's
Yeah.
definitely one thing that this field, you have to be adaptable. When I first started out, there were no computers. So I was doing everything by hand, cutting type and putting everything on boards. And then it changed into the computer world, where it was Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign programs, and now we're getting more into the web stuff. So I really think that's one thing to think about when you're going into this field, is not only getting a graphic design major, but kind of bumping that into a web major also, or minor or something, so that you have both the graphic design and the web side for your job experience.
Yeah, because it sounds like you're going to run into both, aren't you? So
You
you
do,
really,
and I even do. I don't do full web design, but even my clients will ask me for like banners and buttons, and so it's really good to have that knowledge of how all of that works, even if you're not going to go be a full full-blown web designer, it's still good to have that knowledge.
Yeah. So I have to ask, the transition into being a small business owner.
Mhm.
What's been the best part about it and the worst part about it, especially as a creative, with managing all of that? How do what's the best part?
I'd say the best part is being able to choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So, you have that option. I do a lot of logo design, which I love doing. And if there's a client that, if I am busy and I have a client come up that I'm not real sure about, then I could just, I just tell them I don't have time, or I kind of refer them to somebody else. So that's kind of nice to have that, and to have the flexibility of hours too, to be able to, if I want to go do something during the day, I can go do that and then work through the night or whatever, just as long as I get my stuff done. It's the flexibility is nice to have.
What's the worst part?
I would say sales. I do not like the selling part. If I could just be on the computer 24/7, playing around with designs and stuff, that's what I would do. So I definitely think the sales is not my favorite part of the job. And that's why getting into a networking group, at least one, is really beneficial. And again, why I suggest that you have that those connections already made with printers and stuff, and kind of have a little bit of experience under your belt before you do full-time freelance. Although having said that, I think freelancing like on the side is another way to get those referrals under your belt. I did that kind of throughout my whole career. So I had a couple clients when I went full-time to begin with. So that was kind of a good idea too, to do.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I mean, just in other words, as you're trying to build that individual business, it's good to have something that's providing constant income to you while you're starting to generate and put yourself in a position to go out on your own, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. So if you could change anything at all, I thought probably what I heard you say is that if you could change anything, it would be that you wouldn't have to be the salesperson. But is there anything else that you would change about being a small business owner or, a freelancer?
I don't think so. I mean, I really like the flexibility, and I feel like I've kind of done all that I've wanted to do. I kind of wanted to do the agency world and the corporate world and the packaging, and I've kind of been fortunate enough to be able to do all of that. I loved working with different designers, so I do miss that. So that's something that takes a while to get used to, like being on your own at home. But I think that other than the sales part of it, which is just part of it, and you kind of just have to, dig down and do it. So I think that that's really the only thing that I really don't care for too much.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, hey, if you had to do it all over again, would you still go into graphic design knowing what you know today, or would you do something else, as either a degree path or a career path?
I've really enjoyed doing graphic design. I think it's been really fun, and I always have I've always been creative and liked that end of it. So I can't even think, other than like something with animals, I can't really even think of anything else I would want to do.
Yeah, that's neat. And in this career path, by the way, sometimes students ask about income potential. There's definitely income potential in there, isn't it? Depending upon what kind of a job path or a career path you take. Is that true?
I think so. I think that depending again on what you go into, as you go up, usually start as like a production artist, and then you're an art director and a creative director. Once you get to that creative director level, there's definitely potential in making money. And same with the freelance thing. It's, for freelance, you really have to work. It's very competitive. So you're out there constantly making those sales pitches and working on your referral partners. And it's work, but there is definitely money in it. Is it like a doctor degree? No, or a lawyer degree, but there is definitely good money that you can make in the field.
And so it sounds like you're pretty bullish about the future, that there's always going to be a need for graphic designers out there, right?
As long as there's marketing needs and corporations out there marketing, I think there is always a need for this field. I think it's going to change. And again, being able to adapt to all the different things that this field is going to get into, I can't even imagine. That's one thing that you definitely have to do and always learn and teach yourself and go back and do classes and stuff. So I think there's always that learning curve, but I definitely think it will always be around.
Well, that's good to know for sure. So final question, what final advice would you give to a student who's considering going into a similar profession or a similar degree program in college?
That's a big one. I would say that that double degree is definitely important nowadays to at least have that knowledge of web design along with the graphic design. Um, and then again, the DAP program at UC is very strong. So although I did not go there, if you're looking into going package design, that is definitely something that you should look into. Other than that, just finding a good school and doing that co-op and having a really strong portfolio to show is really where it's at.
Yeah, the portfolio really is a big deal, isn't it? I
It
mean,
is. It really is a big deal because it really shows, you can say you've had a 4.0 average, but unless they see what you've done, it's really about that portfolio and showing your work.
yeah, so and maybe that's a good place to end too, because something tells me that you either have the drive and the passion and the creativity to do this job, or you don't. I mean, you probably had other people that were going through the program with you at Bowling Green who it just didn't work for them, right?
Yeah. I think just like any other field that you go into, you really have to be passionate about it. It's a creative field. There's lots of competition, and you have to, just like any other field, really, you have to be passionate and really go for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Pam, I cannot thank you enough for taking this time to do this interview with me and for me to be able to share this with my future students who are considering graphic design, because hearing it from somebody that's in the field is so much different than reading about it on a website or in a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I encourage talking to counselors and going out and meeting people. I went to different agencies and kind of really looked at different agencies and talked to different people in the field to really make sure it's what I wanted to go into.
Oh, that's great advice, because in other words, you kind of took it for a test ride, it sounds like.
I did. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and without a doubt, it paid off for you with all the things that you're doing. And by the way, thank you for the work that you do with me too, or have done with me in the
Sure,
past. Yeah, so and the
sure.
stuff that we'll be
Be
doing
fun.
together in the future. So, but again, thank you for doing this interview with me, and wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.